Hey guys, it's the Sons of Sigmar here. We're giving this a shot. We're doing a book review now. We're going to do this sort of podcast style where it's just a sort of dynamic conversation. And I'm going to open it up with a question for you again. Just having recently read the book yourself, or rather listened to it in audiobook form, what are your initial thoughts on it?
It's not too bad, not too bad. A bit different a format than I'm kind of used to. I usually like reading one full story, but the Troll Slayer, like the Gotrek and Felix TROLLSLAYER, is more composed of multiple stories, small short stories, but it's kind of like an overarching story.
Yeah,
Uh,
it is.
it's definitely different than what I'm used to reading.
Same. That's kind of how I felt initially, but I also think that I sort of liked the jumping around, sort of, because it seemed like you were never in one place for too long. You sort of got to see different parts of the old world, which is where this book takes place in the Warhammer world.
Yeah, I
And
do give it credit. It is very fast.
yeah, it's very fast paced as far as that's
No,
concerned.
but yeah, the only one downside I would say with these short stories, like you never like you do get like in some of the short stories you do get like ending. Well, actually, I would say like in almost every short like story, there's kind of like a little lead off that's like, oh, we'll settle like they settled this or whatever. It's like, that's kind of that sounds like an entertaining part they probably could have kept on.
Yeah, I agree, and we'll get into that more when we get into the spoiler section of this review. There are certain stories within here where it doesn't seem like they get resolved properly. They sort of like move on to the next one a little too quickly, and they sort of brush over what
Yeah,
happened in the last one. But
yeah,
overall, I think that that's a minority of what happens, if you will, for lack of a better term. I feel like it's pretty well executed overall. Um,
yeah. I think it's well executed, which is
would you say it was better or worse than you were expecting? I'm sure that you had heard a lot about these characters, as I had. This was the first one I've ever read. Currently, I'm reading the second one, but I had heard a lot about these characters. I knew that this series was really well loved by the Warhammer community. And what did you think about it though yourself, Gen?
okay. Well, first off, Faithless, I didn't read this book because everyone knows I'm illiterate. How could I possibly read this book? Okay, I got an audio book.
Sorry, I
I
say read, but you and I both listen to it in audiobook format.
Yeah,
In
yeah.
different manners though. You listen to it in.
No, 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 no. I do mixtapes now. You know, I burn the tapes
Oh, okay. Well,
in.
you basically listened to the version that was on Audible, which
Yeah, I
was
did.
narrated by, I believe, the same guy who does the voice acting for Gotrek in Total War Warhammer.
Tentatively, we will say that. Yeah,
Yeah,
tentatively.
would you say that it was like the audio book that you listened to was well done? Because the one I listened to was one by a great YouTuber called the Grim Dark Narrator, and this guy has done a lot of the audiobooks, and I highly recommend that our viewers check them out if you want to just listen to these for free. But yours, I believe, is a little more professionally done. The Grimdark narrator, he's sort of doing it all from his room, and he's got a very thick European accent, and it shows in some things where he's reading words he doesn't usually properly pronounce every word, which is no fault of his own. It's just, I mean, he's reading from a different language. But I was wondering if the overall experience on your end was positive or negative as far as the audio acting, if you will, was.
Um, it wasn't bad. The only downside I could really say was that voice acting was done by one guy,
Yeah,
including the women. So it was from that aspect, it wasn't the most pleasant, and the voices was like some of the voices he did were kind of weird, but
yeah.
it was he did it for like weird characters, which is kind of understandable. But I would have wished there was like a little bit of variety because I listened
Like
to
they
the
had
like
other voice actors.
yeah. Well, the viewers I don't think understand necessarily. I listened to this book, which is like about like 10.5 hours. I listened to it fucking straight, no breaks, nothing.
That was a different experience to me because I was listening to it over the course of a few weeks.
Dude, there was like at the fucking 6.5 hours. I was like, just kill me.
Because
Just kill me.
I'd imagine that it's like that for a lot of things. If you just have to listen to one voice talking constantly, I could see why that might sort of detract from the experience a little bit. But that is only
Well,
in the
yeah.
audio aspect of it. This book, of course, was written several years before anyone did any audio work for it.
Yep, 1999.
Yeah, 1999.
That was the year I was born.
It was the year I was born as well, actually. So this book is as old as us.
But yeah, no, it actually really wasn't that bad. The reason why I wanted to kill myself after 6 hours was because I was doing a car drive, and I hadn't stopped for 6.5 hours, because I was driving, home for the holidays, and I live like halfway across the country, so it is fucking miserable.
Well, I'm sure it helped pass the time at least.
Oh yeah, no, it was pretty good. The only downside, I think there was like one really like kind of like, it wasn't like boring, but it wasn't really fast paced, and I started nodding off.
Before we get into spoilers, would you say that you would recommend this to someone who's not been introduced to the Warhammer world? Do you think this is a good starting place for someone who might not understand the Warhammer world? Or do
I'm
you
gonna
think
have
that
to
this is too
say,
much to like throw on them at once?
yeah, I'm gonna have to say no. This probably is not the best book to start off if you're getting new to Warhammer, just because there's a whole bunch of like background information that you have to know. Like, was it like you have to know Carrick, like eight peaks, Carrick eight peaks.
Yeah, you have to
You
know
have
what
to
a Carrack
know.
is, I suppose.
Yeah, that's true. You have to know about Null, and you have to know about the whole like Berserker code, which actually you don't really need to know that much about it,
It kind of
but it
explains
is
that
kind
in
of
the book,
important.
I think,
It does, but
through the narrative.
uh, then you have, I don't think it mentions Ulfric, but it does mention Tal and
Oh, Ulrich, you mean?
what did I say?
Ulfric?
Oh yeah, Ulrich. My bad.
It's alright. It does kind of throw a lot on there, but do you think that it sort of does that detract from it for people who don't know about the Warhammer world, or does that pique people's interests? Because I read this having had a decent amount of exposure to the world before, but do you think that if you were put into the shoes of someone who had maybe only heard about it like secondhand, do you think that it would have you would have still been able to resonate with it?
If you've heard about it, like, okay, if we're talking about someone who knows some information on the Warhammer world, yeah, I think it'd be a good book to read because everybody knows, if you know anything about Warhammer Fantasy, you know about Altdorf, you know about the Chaos Gods, you know about like all, like you can say, well, oh, I know where this is, oh, I know that, I know the generalities of like the different subjects. So you know a bit about like Slanesh, Zinct, Horn, Nurgle. I mean, so you know all about the big four Chaos Gods, and then you're going to know a bit about like Norse raids and how they play a part in the Warhammer lore and stuff like that. Because that, like, was it? That is a very important part in one of the chapters. Is that it's not Norse raid necessarily, but it does mention about the chaos up in north and how like the troll country, which you're gonna have to know too. So
Yeah.
I mean, like in a second hand, I think yeah, this is a great book to get into because it's just a bunch of basic information that you really need, like that you just need to know or just vaguely know, and you can get into this book very easily. But if you're talking about someone who's never like touched Warhammer or maybe just heard the name getting into this book, I would not recommend it because they'd be so confused like half the time.
Okay. Yeah. Fair enough. It is a lot of information to drop on someone. I've sent this book to one person who hadn't ever really followed the Warhammer lore, and they told me that it was a lot of information to just sort of drop on someone. They still enjoyed it, but they read a few more Warhammer novels after that and gained a greater appreciation for the world, basically, and it gave them a better appreciation of the story itself because they knew more what was going on. So I can see that aspect of it playing a part. Um,
Yeah, this book will really have to like you really have to be motivated to know like oh, okay, well, I'm going to get into this because like you're going to be reading stuff and you'll be like, oh wait, what is this? And you go on Google and you're like, oh, this is okay, now I understand. And it's like, oh yeah, this is cool.
Yeah, yeah,
You know?
I felt that
Yeah,
way. But I've been
yeah.
a fan for a while before I even picked up this book.
I could just imagine they're like, who's Sigmar? They type him in, they start reading up on him, Gal Moraz, and they just come their people.
Yeah.
And just awe.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's move on to the characters themselves, because that's a huge part of this book, and so far I can see why they have something like 20 books now. I think personally that they work really well off of each other. Let's just sort of get into the characters here.
Yeah, I'll describe. Okay, Felix. Okay, Felix is basically kind of like a snob. He screams. Basically, first part of the story, Felix is a little bitch. Okay, he's a little bitch. We all know this. He knows this. I mean, he's scared of everything. He doesn't have the balls to go out and fight chaos. We know this. Everybody knows this. And Gotrek, on the other hand, is drunk half the time and just says "endling," which it's kind of funny. But Gotrek just like dives headfirst into anything.
Yeah,
But
I think it's important to explain why though, because
oh yeah,
some of our
okay,
viewers might
why?
not be familiar with the story of Gotrek and Felix.
Okay, so now I'm going to get into the hard facts. Okay, Felix is an imperial. I know his father was a murderer.
Yeah.
So he comes from wealth, and he did go to college, but he did get. Well, I'm not gonna. Should I spoil that?
Yeah, we can go ahead and spoil it here.
Alright.
Spoilers, guys.
So just facts. So he went to college, so he's somewhat of an educated man, and we know that he's also a bit of a rapscallion, and he does have a talent at the art of the sword, because he did go into a duel and killed another student, which actually got him kicked out of college, and I believe disinherited by his family.
I think it's important to note what he was in the college for. He went to be a poet.
Yes.
Which is a very, very prestigious sort of career to get into. Lots of people in this universe are. You can get famous for being a poet, because that's one of the primary ways of entertainment at the time.
Yes, he's also a big. What was it? Felix is also a big political activist, which
he is.
This is what led him to meet Gotrek. He's got in trouble, and Gotrek saved him. And since he was a poet, he swore to write a great poem. And
was going to write about
death.
Gotrek's heroic death to honor him. He's stuck. He made an oath with Gotrek that he would follow him on his quest for a noble death, and that they would see it through together, and that Felix would basically make him honored post-mortem.
Yes.
And thus sort of starts the adventures of Gotrek and
Felix. Gotrek and Felix. Now, Gotrek, on the other hand, somehow committed a grave crime, which he cannot.
Elaborated.
It's not elaborated
in this book what he did, but basically he did something really dishonorable.
That he had to take the Slayer oath, which means that he could only redeem himself with glorious death.
Yes, and that might seem simple enough, but you can't, as a Slayer, you can't just go.
Yeah,
die
you can't just go. Yeah,
because you still might not be able to get into the halls of the ancestors, which is the dwarf afterlife. It's kind of like Valhalla.
Yeah.
If it's stupid, you might not still get that noble death. So he's always watching out for that. He doesn't just jump into the mouth of like a giant or something. He's kind of tactical about the way he fights. He goes out swinging, even though he suspects that he could be killed by whatever it is he's fighting. He always puts up a fight, and he's never giving in to like a suicidal sort of way. It's more, I don't know how to describe
last stand. More like last stand.
Yeah.
Somewhat of like a bonsai charge.
Kind of. It is kind of like that, actually.
But maybe not as suicidal.
Yeah, I would. I would say that.
So like he's not going to just like charge you with like a sword and you have a gun. He's going to try and dodge, but he's definitely going to come at you.
This guy has no fear. Or he doesn't show it. He does, in some reflections, actually talk about pausing sometimes, but he never explicitly is scared or anything, or he never outwardly shows it anyway. He's always giving off this intimidating vibe of don't fuck with me. I don't even care about my own life. Like I could fuck you up, you know?
Mm-hmm. Just so we can have like a little correction. Most of the time, he's not scared. He has shown fear once.
Right.
And that was at, I believe, Carrick 8 Peaks.
And since we're into spoilers already, that was...
That was basically when they were messing with the ancestors' burial.
Yes, the ghost. When the ghost showed up.
Yeah. That's the only time he's ever been truly scared. But even then, he still continued forward. And by the way, for our viewers who are totally unaware of like the Slayer, what that means is basically that dwarf did a sin so grave, the only way to redeem himself is to die fighting, and die fighting in a very glorious combat. That means he is damned. His kind will not associate themselves with him at all. The only way that he can ever get back in their good graces is by like just fighting and like dying. So it's like his penance, his repentance. Basically that's the only way he can be forgiven. So basically, once he's dead, they're like, did he die a glorious death? If he did, then they're like, okay, he's forgiven. He's back. He's back with his boys. But if they're like, nah, he died like a little bitch, they're going to be like, nah, he's not one of us.
Yeah, and in that sense, I think that it gave a good glimpse into the sort of culture of dwarves, but it didn't reveal too much. It's not like you know everything about dwarves coming out of this book. You get enough to sort of whet your appetite.
Yeah.
Let's
Anyway.
get into favorite moments of the book. I'll start with you. I want to hear your favorite moments of this book.
Favorite? There were some weird fucking moments, like the whole Slaanesh thing. Favorite moment?
There were a few parts that I really liked, but one of the ones that stood out to me, and I don't think I'm gonna forget it for a long time, is the part where Gotrek basically becomes retarded because he hits his head.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah, he becomes
in a fight with Beastman.
Yeah, and I remember, was it like, so at the end of it or whatever, the alchemist who gave like some miracle drug to make sure that Gotrek can like get his memories back. The thing doesn't work, and so Felix gets so mad he starts chasing down the alchemist, and he throws a fucking like cup or whatever, and it hits hits Gotrek right in the head, exact same spot where he got hit earlier in the book, and he basically gets knocked back into like fucking. So he went retarded, and then basically he got unvaccinated, and then became smart again.
Yeah, I mean, like that moment was quite hilarious to read.
Yeah.
I loved that whole mini story in there. It had a little bit of everything. It had like crazy beastmen. It had evil.
They have crazy beastmen.
Yeah, in the beginning they were fighting the beastmen.
No, they were fighting mutants.
Mutants. You're right. I'm wrong on that. It's been a little longer for me since I've read it than it has for you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, because I believe it mentions like one of the Slaanesh's worshippers' older brother was the one that threw the rock that fucking made Gotrek retarded. Because it's mentioned in the book about how his older brother couldn't stop fucking eating, like he didn't know what. Like he's like feed me more.
I liked it when they went back to get the flower and the beastmen the mutants weren't even gonna mess with them.
Yeah, they thought it was a trap because Gotrek is like little fucking butterfly right there.
Like, just you're tricking us so that you kill us all.
Yeah. Yeah, we're too smart for you.
But like, wasn't Gotrek literally chasing a butterfly?
No, he was eating flowers because Felix was like flowers. Because Felix was like, "Here, eat this," and Gotrek's like, "I'm not eating flowers." And
I do not
Felix turned to him
flowers, manling.
Yeah, Felix basically turns to him. He's like, "Shut the fuck up! You're eating flowers now." and Gotrek's like, "Okay, I will." Like a little 3-year-old, and like Felix is just shoving it down his fucking work. You son of a bitch! We're in this situation because you're so fucking dumb. Work. And then he's like, "Ah, this is my final moments." The mutants are like, "No. You see, this is what you call the old switcheroo. See, they're pretending to be dumb. but we know they're going that little dwarf's going to kill us all. You know what we're going to do? We're going to leave him alone.
We're
And
just
Felix
not
is
gonna
like,
bother him.
yeah, you better leave us alone. We're so fucking tough, man. Yeah, you can't even touch us, bro. Come at me, bro.
Yeah, it was
And
a total flex.
he was in that one moment. Felix was a real Chad.
Yeah, Felix had to become a Chad though, because Gotrek was a total virgin at that moment.
Yeah, fucking Boy Scouts honor right there.
Basically. But getting back to that story, you and I both have an issue with how a certain
Dude, yeah.
subplot in that story is not resolved. There is a great subplot going on with this guy who's secretly a Slaneshi worshiper, and he's
Yeah.
basically he's going after Felix because he thinks that Felix knows that he's a Slaneshi worshiper.
Well, he's not going after Felix. He's going after Tavern Greta. I think Greta or Bretta.
Well, yeah,
Some fucking German name. Basically, he was like, "Hey, we're gonna sex this up," and she basically came up to him. He was like really fucked up on drugs and wasn't drunk. She saw the stigma of chaos, and she screamed and I think
and ran
punched him.
away. Yeah,
Yeah, and ran away.
I,
And he's like, "Oh no."
I loved everything that was going on with that, and then at the end, after Gotrek gets his memory back or his mind back, it sort of just fades over that or like brushes over that really quickly. And
Well, let me cut in real quick. The one thing I liked about like the moment was it Gotrek gets his memory back, he sees Felix like choking the fucking alchemist like he's going about to murder him. And I love his line. He's like, "Manly, why are you choking this old man? Granted, I do not have a problem with it, but I am quite curious."
that was like such a yes moment for me. I was like, oh, he's back, and that's just hilarious.
Yeah. But yeah, I know. Like they like so the whole plot is that they meet this guy at a bar. The guy's like, "Oh, I'm a rich snob. I'm gonna like fuck with these guys because I'm better than them." And they basically beat the shit out of Felix. And Gotrek's just standing there like, "Wow, you go, Felix. You got him, bud."
He
And they
doesn't even
just
know Felix's. I don't even think he remembers Felix's name or who he is.
no, I don't think he does. But they basically fuck him up and they kick him out. And then Gotrek is just like sitting there getting beer like dunked on.
Yeah.
And they leave, and it's just like, okay, so you have this beef, but nothing ever comes of it.
Yeah, you really like grow to, or at least when I was listening to it, I really like grew as like, ooh, I can't wait to see what they do to this guy because he like really has it coming. But then it's just like, let's go to back and give Wolfgang a piece of our mind, and like it's just like brushed over. It's like, oh, you're not gonna tell us how you beat the shit out of him, and
all it says is that, oh yeah, like the local townsfolk took, which is like, okay, wow, what a cop out. You could have had like Felix like fucking smashing him, like destroying everything.
yeah, it was a missed opportunity. There were some
It
other good
was.
there were some other good moments in this book. I also liked the moment where they figure out how to fight the troll. That was pretty cool. I love the whole thing in Karak Eight Peaks where they're being chased by the goblins, and it's
Mm-hmm.
actually hinted at it. They
They
sort
have
of
the drums.
tell about the Skaven a little bit about the warpstone poisoning, and it gives you a little bit of a insight into the warring going on over Karak Eight Peaks, and that's just
Yeah.
sort of good like lore building stuff that William King put into this book. And I think William King as an author did a good job of like sprinkling a lot of, I guess it's fan service for people who know about these various locations and the various famous events that happened. So, did you have another favorite moment? I thought the last story was a little weak, but I did like some of the plot
What do you mean
points
the last story
included.
was weak?
I liked the dagger and the stuff with the mage. That was pretty neat.
I mean,
But
but the ending was pretty good. You know, the Gotrek is like, "Die, woman, die." And the woman's like, "I'm innocent." And Gotrek is like, "Filthy shapeshifter."
yeah, I liked that. I liked that. I just felt that like
And then it added like another like kind of like date, like a character, fuck, whatever. I'm having a terrible time right now. like with just words in general. But they like it goes deeper into like Felix's character because it said like that one moment haunted him for like the rest of his life.
Yeah.
The other thing that I thought they kind of was a William King kind of bitched out the story before that at the ending of basically the Mutant Master.
Yeah.
And how basically they kill him and then like they set light to the castle and leave for the village to settle a score. And it's like, okay, you left out another great fight scene. I mean, like my only issue with it is that like you can have the fight scene and then say, okay, where are we off to next? And then like continue on like, oh, they continue on their journey here. I mean, if you just say, oh yeah, to settle a score, and then like you just imply there was a fight that they won, it's okay. Well, this is the adventures of Gotrek and Felix. This isn't the fucking report of Gotrek and Felix.
Right. Right. Well, it sort of is though. I mean, it's set up like it's. I think William King was going for a vibe where basically Felix is writing all this, but it does. I mean, it also when you read it, it comes across as very novelly. I mean, because Felix is basically talking about himself in the third person.
Yeah, no. All I was trying to like the point I was trying to like. I don't want to hear like let's say like a soccer game or whatever. You know, it's like oh yeah, Liverpool beat Chelsea like 2-1. That's a report. I want to actually like view the game and watch them kick the soccer ball because that's what it's called, not a football, it's a soccer ball.
Yeah.
America is the only nation. If it's not America, it's just another Arab country in my eyes.
Our British audience is gonna love that.
Hey man.
All right, I think that basically covers this book. Let's get into your final thoughts. What would you give it in a rating of 1 to 10? 1 being pretty terrible, and 10 being amazing. One of the best books you've ever read.
Maybe like a 6.5.
Okay, I think I would rate it around a 6.5 as well.
I mean, it's not a bad book by any means.
No, I
but
think it
it's
was
just
quite enjoyable actually.
It has like some really good points to it. I think it also has some like kind of like flaws to it, like the kind of like missed opportunity, and then like I don't know. There's also that the missed opportunity kind of like deducted by like 2 points and the high, and then like just it not being really kind of cup of tea deducted it by like another point. By cup of tea, I mean I like this kind of stuff, but this isn't necessarily like the books I kind of read.
Right.
I'm more of a sci-fi or kind of like Lord of the Rings fantasy.
Understandable.
Which they have like a kind of different atmosphere to this one. This one has a different atmosphere. It's not a bad atmosphere by any means. It's just not it's not my preferred. And then I took off like another half point just because there were some parts that were like kind of a little bit just bland. Didn't really add to the story. Like it didn't add to like the world building, and it added like very little to the story. I
Yeah,
felt.
there were moments like that. I personally would
Um,
give it a 6.5 as well. I think that's a very fair score.
well, Faithless, you're very agreeable to
I am, but it's an honest thought on it. I enjoyed it quite a lot. It definitely got me in the mood for Warhammer,
Mm-hmm.
if you will, and I was definitely eagerly going to the next uh, part of the book every time I would finish one. I couldn't wait to hear what was going to happen next. So it is a bit of a page turner for me, but it wasn't structured perfectly,
Yeah,
and I think that's like what detracts from it the most. But would
yeah,
you be interested in hearing the second one? I can go ahead and tell you right now that it doesn't have the jumping around as much. It's more
yeah. I
focused
would
on one
assume so.
section. The
Yeah,
next one, and it introduces a big character. Would you be interested in continuing the series after having read this, or are you kind of done with Gotrek and Felix after this?
I would definitely continue reading this because I could tell just through like reading it or hearing it. My mistake, hearing it because I didn't read it technically, but just from the story itself, you can kind of tell that it was more kind of a prototype. Seeing like, okay, let's see how people receptive to this idea because it's like multiple short stories, which I don't really see like I don't see necessarily short stories as like kind of like a full fleshed out thing. More of just kind of like saying, hey, these are some of my ideas. These are some of my short stories that I think can really flow together and make a good concise series. And I saw it, and there was like definitely some gems in there. Like, was it in one of the stories near the end of the book? You know, with the whole was it Siege or Blood and Darkness? I think it was called. There's a character introduced, cat, that I believe is somewhat not alluded to, but it's like, you know, they never forget, like the three never forget promise, you know, like promise never to forgetting each other.
Yeah.
Which I think you might see Cat resurface a bit later in another series. Uh, that would definitely probably be, I think, a pretty good idea and definitely very, I would say, receptive to readers.
Yeah, so what I've actually seen is that in later books that I haven't read yet, but I've seen that from looking at the books overall in a reading lists and whatnot, that several characters later developed into their own spin-off series. They gained a lot of popularity that William King introduces in this series. So I'm excited to eventually be looking at that as well. But I, for one, am in the middle of Skaven Slayer right now, and it is fantastic, and I can't wait to do a review of that. But yeah, final thoughts on this: I give it a 6.5 out of 10 as well. It's a good book, and I
Yeah.
recommend it to people who like Warhammer.
The only thing I would say that's kind of this series that I know but not too well is that, was it, I think like near the end of the series, William King eventually, I think, steps away and a new writer comes and continues the series, which I'm going to see. I would want to read up till then and see exactly like what like the new author, like the changes in different styles.
Nathan
So I think that's
Long,
a bit,
yeah, I heard about that
yeah.
as well.
I think that would be kind of that's definitely like a neat aspect of the series.
I'm interested to
Uh,
see that as well.
yeah, that's just something to look forward to, I guess. But the book so far was solid. Not the best. I think its later books are going to probably be much better. But yeah, the structure of it, I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of the short stories. Granted, the short stories, like, I don't necessarily know if they would qualify as short stories because it is kind of a part of an overarching story.
They do
But
weave
it
them
is,
together. He is good about
yeah,
that. They are connected. They're not completely
they are
separate, but
connected.
they kind of feel
They're
they're
loosely,
separated.
very loosely connected.
They're loosely connected, yeah.
So, but no, I think it's a good book. Not bad. I wouldn't say like don't read this. I would say, yeah, you know, read this, but I wouldn't say like you have to read this. I would tell like select people who I know are interested in this kind of thing to say, hey, you know, maybe give this a try
Yeah, check it out. You can check it out on Grimdark Narrator's YouTube channel. I'm definitely going to
for
recommend it
free,
for free.
or if you have Audible.
Or if you have
So
Audible, check it out on there because it's professionally voice acted. So,
yeah, and if you have Amazon Prime, by the way, you get one free Audiobook.
yep. All right.
So try it out.
So one
All
last
right,
thing
this
we're
has
going
been
to
the Sons of.
mention sorry. Let's just have dead air for a second. One last thing we're going to mention before we end this video here is check the link in the description because we are going to have our Discord up by the time this video comes out. And you will be able to
Yep.
join us there and chat with us and hang out with us.
Yep. Faithless is a little bit more rude in real life. I'm just a charming individual.
Yeah.
I've never been known to be antagonistic. I'm always a very laid back guy. Faithless is a real brutal monster on there. He's power goes to his head constantly. You know, I'm living in fear under his heel.
Yeah, come check us out over there. All right.
Yeah, no, but seriously, come check it out.
This has been Sons of Sigmar, and we'll catch you in the next one.